Hey, eighth grade. Yesterday, or the other day, I had you read an identity poem and examine symbols and an extended metaphor. So in that poem, it compared two opposite similar things, right? So like you could be a flower, and then the opposite of that would be a weed, but they're both like types of vegetation. So that's going to be our exemplar poem for today as you write your own identity poem. So, the first thing that you need to do on this brainstorm sheet is you need to decide which two things which one thing you want to be and which thing you don't want to be. Um, so, you can use this list. You could be a plant or an animal, a piece of furniture, a color, a vehicle, a restaurant, a food, a place, amusement park ride, a sport, or a piece of technology. Um, and so when you write these, this is like what you would want to be, and then this is what you would not want to be. So, for example, if I were an animal, I would want to be a giraffe. I would not want to be a beluga whale. All right. If I were a piece of furniture, I would like to be a reclining chair, not a coffee table. If I were a color, I would be yellow, not brown. If I were a restaurant, I would be, I don't know, maybe Panera, but I would not be Chick-fil-A, which I know is a really unpopular opinion. Um, if I were a food, I would be grilled cheese, but I would not want to be onions. If I were a place, I would like to be the woods, and I would not like to be the highway, which is what my poem is actually about. Um, if I were an amusement park ride, I would be the swings, the ones that go round and round and round and take you up real high. I would not like to be the teacups. If I were a sport, I would be a football, and I would not be basketball. I know, also an unpopular opinion. And if I were a piece of technology, I would be smartwatch, but not an iPad. I don't know. I just made that up. Okay. So that's how you're going to fill in this chart. So think about the things that you want to be versus the things that you would not want to be. And you have to choose the set that best represents you. So the next thing that you do is you have to think about imagery. And then think about, like, if you want to be a sofa, right? Think about all the good things about a sofa. What it looks like, how it smells. Hopefully you're not eating the sofa, so maybe not what it tastes like. What it feels like, what it sounds like, how it moves, and what it represents. So you're not going to be able to fill in all of these all the time. It really depends on what objects you pick. So, like, obviously, if you are baseball, like, I want to be baseball. You can talk about what baseball looks like, what it smells like. And again, if some of you have done a baseball poem before, we talked about the things that you could taste, what baseball feels like, how baseball sounds. So it really is all dependent on how you, what objects you choose and how you fill this out. So then we have like the actual poem. And so if you analyze the poem correctly, you know that the person in the poem would rather be a weed than a flower, because flowers are protected, they're sheltered. People look at them and they think they're really pretty, but they're not free. And the person who wrote that poem really enjoys like the freedom being a weed comes with. So you want to think about those objects in that way. And so you'll follow this outline. If you can split your screen and have the identity poem on one side and then this document on the other, I think that would be the most helpful. But give it a shot. remember, these poems are not totally about accuracy. They're really about trying and giving it your best effort, which I know is hard because we've never done anything like this before, and I don't know if you've ever wrote poems like this before, um, like using mentor poems, but it's really just important that you try. And it doesn't have to be perfect, and I'll give you feedback for later. So I labeled these lines so that they match up with your regular poem. And I've put which stanza is I don't want to be this, I'd rather be this because of this. And like this one is split, this third stanza. And obviously I have a an exemplar poem here for you. As you are going through your poem, you should work to include as many devices as that were in the original poem. So like I know there was a simile in the first half, so here's my simile, free like a bird. Here's a personification to have grass dance beneath the wind. And the whole thing is a metaphor. The whole thing is an extended metaphor for your whole life, which might not seem like a big deal, but it is to me. And then here is a rhyme at the end. So use my exemplar, use the identity exemplar poem, and use the outline to help you create this poem. If you feel like you are beyond the organizers and you don't need that, you don't need the brainstorm, and you just want to type this, go for it. I will not penalize you for that. But it will be a lot harder for me to help you if I don't know your thought process when you get down here into the outline. So this essentially has 3 parts, right? It has the brainstorm, the outline, and then like your final poem where you make it look like a poem. I will be on at 1. If you need me, Miss Miller will be there. You can always email me if you have questions. Otherwise, I wish you luck. This will be, I think, the hardest poem that we write. After this, everything is pretty easy and smooth sailing. So give me this one last great effort for this poem, and then I promise you the easy poems will come.